Okay, so we're going to start talking about chapter three of Rhoda's book. So we discussed chapters one and two already, and but I think it'll be useful to give some reminders. Now, uh, Rhoda is defending this argument, and y'all should be familiar with this. If Christianity is at least 50% likely to be true, then it is rational to commit to living the Christian life. Christianity is at least 50% likely to be true. Therefore, it's rational to commit to living the Christian life. And now, some of you are like, what? Christianity is at least 50% likely to be true. That's too much. Well, um, yeah, that I could see some of you saying that. That's going to be in the later chapters. So you want to hold off on objections to premise two, okay? And right now he's just defending premise one in chapters one through four, and we're on chapter three right now. Okay, so we want to assume Christianity is at least 50% likely to be true, and see if it follows. Supposing that's the case, is it rational to commit to living Christian life? And then we'll be discussing premise two later. Um, Right. All right. So that's how we're starting off. Now, this video, we're starting in on chapter three, but I'm actually just going to be dealing with the avarice objection. I think it's better to make shorter videos and then divide them up. I think it'll be easier for me and it'll be easier for you as well. Okay, so what is the avarice objection? Um, well, this is one person in her email said, like, this is such a bad objection. Why are we even discussing this? I mean, Rhoda's not even that impressed. But if you look at, let's see, if you look at page, um, where is it? Oh yeah, top of page 53, you'll see that lots of famous people, Richard Dawkins, William James, have said, Pascal's wager, it's very selfishly motivated. Um, and so the way I've had the handout is he takes on the objection. It's on there. You can find it on your sheet. Oh, yeah, that should. um, if you need this one, I gave it. It looks like there. Uh, if you remember, I actually gave this to you before a spring break, before we left. But if you don't have it, that's okay. I posted it on Blackboard, so you can pause and then go, load it up. Um, and and yeah, and I'll be posting a future handouts online too, because I'm not gonna mail them to you or send them by owl or pigeon or whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna assume that you paused and then you found this, and then you also have your book handy. Okay, so avarice objection says the Pascal's wager, Rhoda's argument, makes accepting Christianity too self-interested. All right. Now, Rhoda's going to have basically two replies. Number one, it's not just self-interested. And number two, it's not always bad to be self-interested. Okay, so let's look at each of those reasons. Okay, so it's not bad to be self-interested. That's going to be in the middle of page 53. Sorry about that glare. Okay, and if you look at that, actually Rhoda's version of Pascal's wager actually considers other people. For example, on the 50% chance likelihood that God does exist, this would bring joy to God. And on the other hand, you might risk disappointing God. Um, Part of Rhoda argues is part of committing to a religious life will actually be good for other people too. So it's not just about yourself. That's his first point. But his second point, and that's the bottom of page 53, is that what's so bad about being self-interested? I mean, it's good, and that's why we eat. That's why we sleep. That's why we try to take care of ourselves. I mean, it's one of the reasons. I mean, maybe you just eat and sleep so that you can help other people, but it's okay to also be doing it for yourself. Okay, so um, yeah, I think that part is pretty straightforward. This is something I teach in my intro ethics courses, which is there's a difference between being self-interested and selfish. Okay, when you're self-interested, you're concerned about yourself. It becomes selfish when you're not only concerned about yourself, but you show neglect for other people's interests and welfare and feelings. So yep. So that's that. Um, Now, a few of you were concerned. He then uses actually on a Christian view, it's okay to come to God in a partly self-interested way. And he uses the story of the prodigal son. That's where a son runs away from home, leaves his father, and then, well, you guys know the story from the reading. He decides, it's better to be with my dad's house than out here with the pigs where he is. Um, okay, and so um, one of you mentioned, he didn't necessarily make a decision table, but and he didn't like draw a decision table, but what he did was he did think, well, there's a strategy of going home or staying, right? And I would say going home would have um, was, he probably weighed the costs and benefits, and that's going to be basically making a decision table whenever you're weighing costs and benefits, and so that's what he did. Okay. And it was self-interested, and at least on according to Rhoda and the story from Jesus, that's okay to be motivated by self-interest. Um, Still sounds a little bad, but it's as long as it's not selfish, it's hard to see what's wrong with that. Now, some of you had some concerns about the fact that Rhoda says we have to start from somewhere. Sometimes we start our relationship self-interested, and then Rhoda thinks maybe over time you'll develop a better attitude. Um, and Rhoda says toward the bottom of page 54 that it's maybe better to start out others interested, wanting to bless God in the world, um, and that might be better. But I think Rhoda's point is it's okay to start a little bit self-interested. And one thing I would add to what Rhoda said is I think that a lot of our relationships are like that. I mean, we start out, not all of them, but normally when we end up meeting people, there's a lot of self interest in the beginning. I use this example in an email to one of you where you might be like, hey, let's study together with someone. And you're actually thinking about how it'll help you study better. But as you study with that person, you start to care about them, right? It's no longer just self-interested. So I think it's okay that some relationships start out somewhat self-interested, right? And they might even start solely self-interested, and then the relationship changes you as that person starts to change you, and you start to change them. Um, so in that sense, Pascal's wager or Rhoda's argument doesn't have to be bad. So those are his 2 points, which is his wager is others interested, and even if it is self-interested, it's not bad to be self-interested. All right. Hopefully, maybe some of you are convinced. If not, you can have questions about that in the discussion board. All right. Bye.